Hi, this is Optimus Primal, and this is Silverbolt's Transformer Review.
Morning everybody, Silverbolt here, back for a Transformers review, going to be doing, as per the title page, Generations Drift. Now, Drift is a character that I've wanted to do for a long time. I'm very much in the camp of I love Drift, but that's something I'll get to later on in the video. Drift was originally going to be one of the very first comic-only characters that I reviewed. However, once I realised that he'd be getting a toy, I decided to wait and see, and wait till the toy came out and then do a review. Now then, Drift first shows up in Transformers Spotlight. And to give you a bit of a history on Drift, Drift was a Decepticon known as Deadlock. And he was quite well known for slaughtering Transformers and, well, Autobots left, right and centre. But something happened. What we don't know completely what it was that happened. However, we do know that Drift, for whatever reason, got himself a second chance. Deadlock got himself a second chance, renamed himself as Drift, became an Autobot, and just is generally a badass about it. Now, in Spotlight Drift, a mysterious cloaked figure, as these lonely heroes are wont to be, shows up on a planet looking for information on a Decepticon cruiser. He guesses information and promptly heads out. Now Drift is very stealthily sneaking himself aboard and moving through all the conduits and trying to find the right places and all that, when this very carefully laid plan gets spectacularly pushed aside when the Wreckers show up. And it's Cup's team of Wreckers, not Springers. Drift decides that, well, my plan's stuffed, so I might as well join forces, and offers to lead the Wreckers to where they need to be. When they end up fighting the Decepticon commander Turmoil recognises Drift and calls him Deadlock. At a later part of the comic, Cup and Drift are separated from the other team of Wreckers. And Cup confronts Drift and says, "What's this all about?" Drift explains some of his circumstances to Cup. And Cup's very, very wary up until they again get into another battle. And then Drift ends up risking his own life to save Perceptors. This convinces Cup that Drift is, at the very least, worthy of a chance. So he offers him a place on his team of Wreckers. The next time Drift majorly appears is in the All Hail Megatron series, which is a very, very good comic series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. A bit too much human involvement at the beginning, but that is quite central to the plot, but there we go. Drift was handpicked by Cup to come to Earth to join the fight. For instance, and to give you some idea of just why Cup would bring Drift, Drift was the only one that was not surprised that Mirage was a hidden sentry. Whether it means that Drift has just got such a great sense of smell that he can smell Mirage's motor oil or whatever, or whether he can see through invisibility, no, we don't quite know. But seeing as Drift is the Uber Ninja Warrior, that could be quite possible for both. Now, there's a very almost pivotal moment for Drift in All Hail Megatron, because of course the saviour of the day, it's not Cup, it's not Drift, it's not Optimus Prime, no, it's Thundercracker. Thundercracker destroys the bomb that stops it going off and butchering everybody. And we see a little bit of Drift, because Drift very eagerly moves forward to Thundercracker, offering him his hand. You know, someone else who has seen the light in Drift's eyes. Thundercracker rebukes this quite vehemently, calling him a traitor. And it to some degree does show Drift's loneliness. In that, well, he can't go back, and he's not really trusted as an Autobot because he was a Decepticon. Okay, if it was with Optimus Primal wouldn't have a problem with him, because Optimus Primal for some reason trusted everybody instantly. But there we go. Exaggeration for effect. But there we go. Drift did of course fight alongside the Autobots with the Swarm when they were rescued by Omega Supreme, and then of course the Battle for New York City where the bomb was. Thundercracker does call Drift traitor, and that part of the storyline is very much reflective on the kind of character that Drift is, which I'm going to get to now. Now, Drift is... he's basically a fan character come to life. He is a fan character that they've brought into the spotlight, and he shares so many characteristics with other bad guys turned good guy characters. You know what? To me, he strikes himself as very resemblant of almost a Drista Worden style character, without, as of yet, all the emo whining he tends to do throughout the first set of books. You know, he's a supreme warrior with 2 swords, and he's from an evil background, and he's now trying to be a goodie, but he's not quite accepted by anybody as of yet, apart from a close circle of friends. Very Drista Worden. Just without the magical cat. In Drist. It depends on how you want to look at it. There is some debate on Drift amongst the... I suppose you could almost call them factions of the Transformers fan base. Some absolutely love him. I'm one of them, because I think he's a great character, and I don't care that he's a fan character come to life. I think he's brilliant. And those who hate him for the exact same reason, because he's a fan character that's come to life. You know, he's just a little bit too cool. He's this uber stealthily, uber cool warrior with twin swords and a great big long sword on his back that he hasn't quite, as of yet has not used. So for that reason, people are very much divided on what they think of Drift. One of the reasons that they've stated, that IDW have stated they brought Drift into it in the first place, is they want him to be kind of like their Wolverine. A maverick character that is very much on the side of good, but isn't too particular about how he goes about it. You know, kind of like Jason Todd when he becomes the Red Hood in Batman. You know, he is a good guy, but he's a good guy who uses the bad guy's methods. And the fact that he's probably the fact that he's the IDW equivalent of Wolverine probably explains why we're getting him shoved down our throats. I mean, the fact that a total unknown character gets his own spotlight really does say it all. But then in saying that, Ramjet got one as well, which just made no sense. But there we go. Well, it does make sense if you read the IDW continuity, assuming you can figure out a place to start. Because IDW continuity is just all over the place. I'm trying to think what else to say on Drift himself. There's not really what else I can say, because I've pretty much covered all the basics on Drift's character and people's reaction to him, and the fact that, you know, he is the uber cool fanboy creation come to life. As I said, you know, he's every tortured character in every single fantasy setting, or even sci-fi settings. You know, the loner with the past who's now trying to atone for past sins. But there we go. It doesn't stop him being uber. Right, on to the toy itself. Now, this toy will be getting a redeco as Blur. The main thing they're going to change is they're going to take the spoiler off. They're going to take the spoiler off the back of it. And of course, they're replacing the swords with guns. One second. Let's try this. No, I'm shutting the curtains that way. There we go. Oh, the sun stopped shining now. That's why the curtains were done in the first place. Anyway, there we go. That's a little better. Now, that's one thing I'm going to actually try and save up for, by the way, is a new video camera. This old lab tech thing just doesn't cut it in this modern day age of YouTube. But that's beside the point. Now then, onto the toy. As I said, this is going to get redone into Blur, minus a spoiler, and of course taking away the guns and the swords and giving him, guns. And I will be buying it because it gives me a chance to do Blur but do blur as he is in the comic continuity, where his character goes through well, at least in the New Age comic continuity, where his character goes through a drastic personality change. I mean, as you can see, Drift does come with these Cybertronian, almost Japanese-looking samurai symbols on his car. Transforming him, he in some regards, I think he's a bit of a shell former. Well, no, shell former's not really the right terminology for him, because pretty much all you do is pretty much just snap him in half. I mean, you snap the bonnet in two, slide the top parts of the hood covering over, so you've got him like that, and then just pull the legs down. Put the feet forward slightly, well, not that far, so you've got his arms like that, and then just pull the arms out just by turning them so that almost at a 90-degree angle, and just pulling the arms out. Do the same again the other side. Pull the arms out. Snap the chest piece forward. Bring down the wings so they sit at almost like a 45-degree angle. Well, you don't have to have it at a 45-degree angle, but it makes sense for what I'm going to show you next. Turn the head, which is very stiff on its joint. There we go. Till you have Drift in robot mode. And then there's one more thing you need to do, and I'm probably going to have a right nightmare of a time showing you this, but there we go. One of the reasons why I need a new camera. There we go. And do it front facing. You can just see that little bit of black just there. Lift that up on either side, and it gives you the hilts of Drift's swords. Now then, there is a third sword, obviously, because you've got two. I'll get to the swords in a minute, but I'm going to do the big sword first. This is Drift's big sword. Nice bit of grey plastic with a bit of gold in the middle, and Cybertronian markings on the edge. On the blade itself. There's nothing on the edge, and it does fit. You can slot it in little hooks that go down Drift's back. Drop one of his swords, slide it down, and then unfortunately it does dangle between his legs. Most comically is the word. Comically is the word. Leave it there. We won't say what else the long thing dangling between his legs looks like. Oh wait, I just did. Yep, put Drift's swords back into place. Now I don't keep the sword down his back too much because, well, I'm an uber sword. I do that because Hasbro are so scared of getting sued that they won't bother. So, but I would imagine in this day and age it won't be long before somebody takes these measurements and makes a strong plastic version. Fans Project, iGear, hope you're watching. So yeah, that is probably my biggest flaw with this toy, is this particular sword, because it's just bendy and it's horrible. And it's just the Revenge of the Fallen bludgeon has the same problem, is that, well, they're so bendy for safety's sake, so that some 5-year-old doesn't go ah. But there we go. That is my biggest problem. I don't like the fact the sword is so bendy. Now, the other swords, on the other hand, are quite different. They look more like machetes than anything else, and the plastic is a little bit more. Well, actually, no, it's not. The plastic of the blades is not as durable, but it does have the advantage of having proper sheaths for it in the car wings, which I think is an absolutely awesome touch. Whether it's a deliberate design issue, but they've made it so that Drift can get himself into all kinds of poses, and he can even be posed as if he's gripping it. This is going back in the terms of Warbot Defender for being able to draw his own weapons. He can grip the hilt of his sword in order to pull it out, and he can be posed that he's holding the sword in two hands. And I would imagine that that is actually something that Hasbro have done on purpose for the Drift toy. So we can hold it in two hands and stand there ready to go hiya on somebody. You know, you do have to excuse the voice. It is still a little bit foobarred from the weekend, so it's not good like that. And then later on, I've got to go have a tooth extracted. Even more fun. So yeah, you can get him holding his sword in both hands. This is one of the first of the new generations line, which and it's a toy that many Transformers collectors have been waiting on for absolutely ages, including myself. And now that I've got him, aside from the sword, I'm not disappointed at all. I absolutely love this toy. But then I love most of the Generations toys, despite the fact that, you know, we've only really had 3 at the moment. We've only had Drift, Darkmount, Straxus, and Thrust. And Thrust doesn't really count because he's pretty much just a repaint. But Darkmount's probably going to be another review that I'm going to do, because the toy is awesome, and so is the character. But for now, this is Silverbolt with Drift signing off, saying au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen. There we go, just turn the lights on. There we go, there's Drift. You can see him a little better now. Of course, because he's white, it's kind of hard to get a full description, because he tends to glow if you put bright light on him. There we go. There's Drift in his robot mode. Generations, so very poseable for suitable heroic action pose, despite the fact the feet look a little almost high heelish, but they actually do work for standing him up quite very well indeed. He's two short swords, which very nice, slot in sheaths in the car wings. You just pull out, and they slot quite nicely and easily in his hands. And the way his shoulders are done and the way his arms are done means that you can do suitable, I'm going to draw my sword and chop you into little pieces style of actions. Most notable with his big sword. Okay, the dog's about to start barking because people are coming home. Now then, the sword itself, he's big. The signature Drift sword, I think, is the letdown of the toy. In some regard, I think it's the weakest point of the toy, because, well, it does that. Of course, that is health and safety to stop some poor little kid stabbing his eye out with it, but, for fairness, parents, if you're going to give a child a toy, but there we go, that's not the point. So, it's very bendy, and I don't like that. That does slot down his back. Unfortunately, it does dangle between his legs. We're saying nothing about that. And you can pose and have him so that he can draw it. And he holds it quite conveniently in both hands. All in all, an excellent figure for an Uber fan toy. Because Drift, let's face it, is just, you know, he is a fan toy. Made flesh. But he's awesome. Both character-wise and toy-wise, he's very nice. I've wanted to get him for ages. Not much an awful lot more I can say about Drift, to be honest. I've said pretty much. Oh yeah, when you're transforming him, flip the windows in. Forgot that bit. But there we go. Right, I'm going to go before my voice completely vanishes. But for now, this is Silverbolt, and with Generations Drift, saying,
You're Diancis, aren't you?
I knew this was going to happen.
You're Simon. I've been following you on YouTube since I was just out of the room.
We love you.
I snuck into your house by a helicopter because my parents are really rich. Have you had a bath yet?
What?
Because I can bathe you.
Sit here, little boy.